Aaron Vale stood at the edge of the great marble dais, his heart pounding like a drum in the hush before the council's decision. He had trained all his life for this moment, rising from the quiet streets of Earth's coastal city to become humanity's chosen champion. His uniform of white and blue gleamed beneath Solara Prime's pale twin suns. But despite the honor of his robes, Aaron felt more nervous than proud. Around him, representatives of countless worlds gathered in flowing robes of rich colors and alien fabrics. They whispered among themselves, casting curious glances at the lone human who dared stand among them. At the center of the dais floated a crystal orb that whispered the names of chosen champions. When the light within pulsed a soft gold, Aaron's name echoed through the chamber in a voice both gentle and commanding. A hush fell, broken only by the faint hum of distant engines. The council's heralds stepped forward, bowing deeply before the orb. With solemn grace, they intoned the invitation for champions to select their partners among the gathered dignitaries. Aaron's stomach tightened. He scanned the crowd, expecting to see proud nobles and celebrated heroes. Instead, his gaze fell on one figure at the back of the hall, small, almost hidden beneath a simple cloak of muted silver. Her head was bowed as if in quiet prayer, her shoulders curved by the weight of unseen burdens. Yet when their eyes met, he saw something powerful in her dark gaze. A calm that spoke of patient endurance and a kindness tempered by hardship. Word had spread that she was Princess Lyra of the Starlit Exiles, a noble born among her people but rejected for reasons no one dared fully explain. Rumors said her powers were unpredictable and dangerous, that she could reshape living matter with a thought. Many believed she was a threat, and so she stood apart in silence, a living symbol of exile and fear. But Aaron felt drawn to her presence, as if her quiet strength offered a promise of something greater than any blazing magic could reveal. When the herald called for champions to come forward, Aaron walked with steady steps, his mind clear despite the whirl of doubt around him. The chamber seemed to hold its breath as he approached the line of delegates. Noble aliens shifted in surprise. Some stiffened with pride, others turned away in disdain. No one expected a human to choose the outcast princess, yet Aaron felt no fear. He had learned long ago that fear only grew when given room to breathe. He stopped a few paces from Lyra and raised his hand, palm open and steady. A ripple of astonishment passed through the assembly. Lyra's head rose slowly. Her eyes widened at the simplicity of his gesture. No grand speech, no dramatic flourish, just an honest invitation. Around them, stained glass windows caught the sunlight and reflected dancing patterns across the marble floor. For a moment, time itself seemed to slow. Lyra stepped forward, her cloak falling away as she walked. With each step, Aaron saw her gray sand, effortless poise that spoke of lessons learned in shadowed halls and hidden ruins. When she reached him, Aaron offered his hand without a word. She hesitated only a heartbeat, then placed her slender fingers in his. A soft murmur swept through the crowd, like wind rustling through distant trees. In that touch, Aaron felt warmth spread through his chest, a spark of connection that transcended language or custom. Lyra's gaze met his, and he saw gratitude flicker. There, mingled with curiosity. Here in this grand hall of alien wonders, their two lives crossed in a bond neither political alliance nor societal expectation could break. The council elders exchanged startled glances. But none could deny the truth in the simple gesture. A human champion had chosen the outcast alien princess, and in that choice lay the promise of unity and hope. As they turned to face the council, together, Aaron's nerves settled into a gentle calm. Lyra walked beside him with a quiet dignity, her presence both comforting and thrilling. The world might doubt them, and the trials ahead would test their unity, but at that moment, Aaron knew. He had made the only choice his heart could follow. And Lyra, once cast aside and alone, found herself standing tall, chosen not for power or rank, but for the strength of her spirit. In the soft glow of Solara Prime's suns, they stepped forward as partners, ready to begin a journey that would change the galaxy forever. Lyra and Aaron walked side by side through the crystal gardens, where tall spires of glowing quartz rose like silent sentinels against the pale sky. The air shimmered with refracted light, and every step they took sent gentle chimes ringing through the paths. Aaron admired the way Lyra's hair caught the sun, each strand glowing with soft amber hues. He spoke quietly of Earth's forests and mountains, painting pictures of windswept peaks and emerald valleys. Lyra listened with bright eyes, her lips curving into a gentle smile as she imagined worlds beyond her own exile. Lyra returned his kindness with stories of her childhood among the starlit exiles, how she once danced under bioluminescent trees and learned the ancient songs of her people. Her voice trembled slightly when she spoke of the day they cast her out, but Aaron's steady gaze gave her strength. He reached out to brush a stray lock from her face, and she felt a warmth spread through her chest. Had felt seen for who she truly was, not for the fear whispered behind her back. Around them, other delegates watched with curious eyes. Some frowned at their closeness, while others whispered in approval. Lyra sensed their judgments like distant echoes, but Aaron's gentle presence grounded her. When a courtier from the moonlit choir sneered at Lyra's simple cloak, Aaron stepped forward and bowed respectfully, thanking the courtier for the beauty of her robes. His words were sincere, and the courtier, surprised, fell silent. In that small moment, Lyra saw Aaron's true gift. He could turn ridicule into respect with nothing more than honest courtesy. They paused at a fountain carved from pale moonstone, where water glowed with soft turquoise light. Lyra knelt and dipped her fingers into the pool. The water responded to her touch, swirling in luminous spirals that spread ripples across the surface. Aaron knelt beside her, awe shining in his eyes. "You have a gift," he whispered. Lyra's throat tightened. She had hidden this power for fear it would bring destruction, yet here it coalesced into something beautiful. She nodded, but said nothing, afraid to claim a power she barely understood. Aaron placed his hand over hers, guiding her fingers gently. "Your gift can heal," he said softly. "It can bring hope." Lyra felt tears gather at the corners of her eyes. Few had ever spoken to her with such belief. She closed her eyes and let her warmth flow into the water. The fountain's glow brightened, and tiny blossoms of light appeared on the stones. Edge, petals made of pure radiance. A hush fell over the garden as other champions and partners gathered. Drawn by the sight, when the blossoms floated free and drifted upward, Aaron stood and offered Lyra his hand again. She rose, brushing light petals from her cloak. The petals dissolved into motes of luminescence, drifting toward the horizon. Together, they continued along the winding paths, the faint sound of petals tinkling in their wake. Lyra felt a curious lightness, as if a heavy weight had lifted from her heart. She dared to believe that her exile might one day end as they neared the edge of the garden. A breeze carried the scent of night-blooming flowers. Aaron paused and inhaled deeply. "Every place has its own beauty," he said, "but this garden feels alive with kindness." Lyra looked at him, surprised to see tears glimmering in his eyes. He smiled, a gentle, unguarded expression that made her heart swell. In that moment, Lyra understood that their bond was more than a simple alliance for the trials ahead. It was the first spark of friendship. Forged from shared stories and honest kindness, they left the Crystal Gardens hand in hand. Stepping back into the bustle of the Arena World's Grand Plaza, delegates turned to watch them, whispers trailing in their wake. Aaron and Lyra did not falter. Their shoulders were straight, their heads held high. And in their joined hands lay the promise of a unity that no fear or doubt could break. Together, they would face the challenges to come, drawing strength from each other's courage and hope. And as they walked forward, Lyra felt for the first time that she was not alone in the galaxy. She had a champion who saw her true power and believed in her heart. Lyra and Aaron stepped onto the silver grass of the misted plains, where low-hanging fog curled around their ankles like a gentle caress. The wide expanse stretched under twin suns, the horizon hazy and dreamlike. Aaron adjusted his cloak against the cool mist and glanced at Lyra. Her face held quiet determination. He offered her a small smile, and she returned it. grateful for his steady presence as they ventured into the unknown together. Each step through the plains felt soft and surreal, the grass whispering beneath their boots. Lyra paused to trace intricate patterns in the dew with her fingertip. The droplets glowed faintly where her touch lingered, as if responding to something deep within her. Aaron watched in wonder, sensing that her power could touch the world in gentle ways he had never imagined. His heart warmed at the thought of discovering more of her hidden gifts. They shared stories to pass the time. Aaron spoke of Earth's oceans, painting pictures of waves crashing against rocky shores and the smell of salt in the air. Lyra closed her eyes and imagined the vast blue water, the memory stirring a longing she had never felt before. When she spoke of her home among the starlit exiles, her voice quivered as she described forests that glowed under starlight. Aaron reached out to squeeze her hand, grounding her in the present. The mist grew thicker as they climbed a gentle rise. Shapes shifted in the fog and strange silhouettes of ancient monoliths appeared ahead. Lyra's breath caught. These were the stones of memory, relics said to hold echoes of the past. Aaron waited patiently while Lyra approached the nearest stone. She placed her palm against its cool surface, closed her eyes, and listened. A soft hum rose from within the stone, and Lyra's lips curved in wonder. "I can hear them," she whispered. "Voices of my people, laughing, singing." Tears glimmered in her eyes. Aaron laid a hand on her shoulder. "Share them with me," he said gently. Lyra nodded and guided his hand to the stone. Together, they felt the gentle pulse of history, and Aaron heard echoes of songs that spoke of unity and hope. The mist around them seemed to brighten, as if touched by Lyra's gift of remembrance. They continued on, the fog lifting to reveal a river of liquid silver winding through the plains. Aaron knelt at the river bank and cupped his hands, bringing water to his lips. Lyra knelt beside him, watching his reflection ripple in the shimmering current. "On Earth," Aaron said, "we believe water cleanses the soul." Lyra dipped her fingers and touched the surface. The river glowed where she pressed, sending soft ripples of light outward. Aaron's eyes widened in admiration. As they followed the river's path, the sky above darkened with swirling clouds. Chill wind swept across the plains, and the grass bowed before it. Aaron pulled his cloak tighter and glanced at Lyra, ready to face whatever came. She met his gaze and nodded, her expression fierce. He pressed forward into the wind, their steps in sync, their resolve unshaken by the gathering storm. When they reached the edge of the plains, the first towers of the Temple of Echoes rose. Ahead, their spires glinting in the fading light. Golden lanterns flickered along the temple walls, guiding the way. Lyra hesitated for a moment, her hand tightening around Aaron's. He squeezed her fingers and whispered, "We face this together." Lyra drew strength from his words, and together they crossed the threshold into the ancient sanctuary, ready for the trials that awaited. Inside the temple's grand hall, pillars carved with symbols of unity and healing stood tall. Aaron and Lyra paused beneath an archway of luminescent stone. The air felt alive with expectation. Lyra lifted her head, determination shining in her eyes. Aaron stood beside her, proud to be her partner. In that quiet moment, they both understood that their bond had become more than friendship, was the spark that would guide them through every challenge and illuminate the path ahead. A soft hum filled the air as Aaron and Lyra stepped into the field of humming crystals. Thousands of prism-like towers rose from the ground, each a sharp shard of translucent light. The crystals vibrated gently, as if waking from a long sleep, and the ground beneath their feet pulsed in time with the distant humming. Aaron's breath caught. He reached for Lyra's hand, and she squeezed back, offering him strength. They both felt a flicker of nervousness. The trial here tested one's inner state, and fear or anger could shatter the crystals or worse, trap them in a resonant storm of discord. Aaron took a steadying breath and remembered his training on Earth's meditation grounds. He closed his eyes for a moment, listening to the hum and focusing on the calm wind that whispered through remote mountain valleys. Lyra watched him, her face softening. She, too, drew a slow breath, recalling the memory of her mother's lullaby. Beneath the glowing trees of her childhood world, Their joined calm seemed to quiet the smallest crystals at their feet. The hum deepened into a peaceful tone, and a pathway of gentle light opened before them. They began to walk together, each careful step chosen to match the steady rhythm of their hearts. Tiny motes of luminescence drifted upward from the crystals, dancing around their ankles like fireflies caught in a gentle breeze. Aaron felt the warmth of Lyra's hand, and it filled him with wonder. He could feel her confidence growing with every breath. Lyra in turn realized how safe she felt with him by her side, his calm presence guiding her through a place that once frightened her. At one point, a crystal tower shivered and cracked, sending a soft tinkling sound across the field. Aaron instinctively placed a hand on his chest, checking that his heart stayed steady. Lyra mirrored him, closing her eyes tightly and focusing on hope instead of doubt. The cracked crystal straightened, its fracture lines glowing with pure white. Light before sealing themselves silently. A hush fell over the field. Aaron opened his eyes to see Lyra watching him with awe in her gaze. They reached a clearing where the crystals formed a circle around a low pedestal. The hum here was deep and resonant, filling the air with a gentle vibration. Aaron knelt and placed his palm on the pedestal's surface. Lyra knelt beside him and did the same. The stones responded to their touch by sending out ripples of blue and green light that washed over their hands and up their arms. The light felt warm, like a soft embrace. Lyra's eyes brimmed with tears as she realized that the crystals accepted their calm harmony. It was a sign that they had passed this test. Aaron helped Lyra to her feet, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. She smiled, her cheeks glowing, and rested her head lightly against his shoulder. Around them, the crystals bowed in unison, their humming softening into a gentle lullaby. Other champions and partners who had struggled before now watched in admiration as Aaron and Lyra emerged from the circle. Their shared calm had not only guided them safely through, but it also restored balance to the field itself, hand in hand. They continued across the remaining crystals. Each step was confident and sure, as if the ground itself supported them. Aaron spoke quietly, praising Lyra's courage and grace. Her smile brightened, and she laughed, softly, a clear, sweet sound that seemed to make the crystals glow even brighter. Together, they finished the crossing, the last of the crystals bowing low in respect as they passed. When they stepped out of the field of humming crystals, the air was still filled with the faint echo of that gentle song. Aaron and Lyra paused at the edge, turning to look back at the pulsing towers behind them. Lyra reached up to touch Aaron's cheek, and he leaned into her hand. In that quiet moment, they understood how deeply they had come to rely on each other's strength and kindness. The trial had tested their inner harmony, and together they had proven that compassion and calm could overcome any fear. As they walked on toward the next challenge, Lyra felt a lightness she had never known. Aaron's belief in her power had helped her see that her gift was not something to hide but something to share. And Aaron in return had learned that true strength lay not in force, but in the gentle courage to remain steady when all around him trembled. With hearts united and spirits lifted, they journeyed forward, ready for whatever lay ahead. Aaron and Lyra entered the Hall of Reflections, where a great wall of polished obsidian stretched from floor to ceiling. Soft light spilled from lanterns overhead, casting gentle shadows on the smooth surface. Champions and their partners stood before the wall in quiet anticipation, hands clasped, hearts open. Aaron felt his pulse quicken as he stepped closer, but Lyra's steady presence calmed him. She squeezed his hand, and together they placed their palms on the cool stone. At first, the obsidian seemed empty, but then it shimmered like water under moonlight, and saw his own reflection dissolve into scenes of Earth's brightest moments. Children laughing beneath cherry blossoms, rivers flowing through green valleys, communities coming together after storms. His chest swelled with pride and hope. When he looked at Lyra, he saw her eyes glisten with tears of wonder. Lyra focused on her own reflection. At first the wall showed the day she was cast out from her people, stunned faces, broken trust, her crown rolling away across shattered marble. Her breath caught and pain flared in her chest. Aaron sensed her struggle and wrapped his arm around her waist, his warmth grounding her. He whispered, You are more than your past. Lyra took a steadying breath. She closed her eyes and let her mind reach for the memory of her first gift, the healing of a wounded bird with a thought. Long ago, beneath starlit trees. When she opened her eyes, the obsidian glowed with soft golden light. The broken images of exile faded, replaced by visions of Lyra standing among her people, hands raised as flowers bloomed in her footsteps, and sick children smiled in her arms. The wall radiated peace and renewal, and a hush fell over the hall. Aaron watched in awe as Lyra's true power revealed itself. The council elders leaned forward, their faces open with surprise and new respect. Lyra felt her heart bloom with warmth. She turned to Aaron, and he smiled, pride shining in his gaze. In that moment, Lyra understood that her gift was not a curse, but a blessing, a power of restoration that could mend broken hearts and fractured worlds. A gentle chime rang through the hall as the wall returned to its mirror state. Aaron and Lyra stepped back, hands still joined, and the crowd erupted into soft applause. Other champions and partners looked at them with admiration, some with tears in their eyes. Aaron lifted Lyra's hand to his lips and bowed before the wall, thanking the spirit of the temple for revealing her truth. Lyra bowed in return, her shoulders straight, her spirit light. As they turned to leave the Hall of Reflections, Lyra rested her head on Aaron's shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered, "for believing in me." Aaron kissed the top of her head and replied, "I always will." Together they walked forward, hearts aglow with shared discovery and hope, ready to face the final trial with unity stronger than any fear. Aaron and Lyra stood before the Bridge of Shadows, its ancient stones arched over a yawning void. The path ahead was cloaked in total darkness, as if the light itself feared to enter. The air was still and heavy, pressing against their lungs like a silent weight. Aaron felt Lyra's hand tremble in his. He squeezed her fingers and offered a quiet smile. Though the sight was frightening, he knew their bond would guide them through what lay ahead. With steady steps, they entered the archway. Instantly, the world around them vanished into black nothingness. The rough stones beneath their boots were the only proof they still walked. Their breaths echoed, loud and hollow, and each footfall seemed to stir the shadows into restless whispers. Lyra paused, her heart pounding so fiercely she thought it might burst. Aaron stayed close, his shoulder brushing hers, anchoring her in the present moment. From the darkness came soft, creeping voices, faint but clear enough to chill the heart. "You are weak," they hissed. "You do not belong." Lyra's breath caught in her throat. Doubt clawed at her mind, memories of exile and fear rushing back. Aaron pressed his free hand over her heart. "Stay with me," he whispered. "Our strength is here." He closed his eyes for a moment, gathering his own courage, and Lyra felt the warmth of his calm spread through her. A cold wind swept across the bridge, swirling around them with ghostly fingers. Lyra's cloak whipped at her legs, and she stumbled. Aaron caught her arm, steadying her with gentle firmness. "Trust yourself," he said, voice steady. Lyra inhaled, deeply recalling the warmth she had felt in the crystal gardens, the light she had summoned in the field of crystals. She focused on that gentle radiance, on Aaron's belief in her, and let it glow within. Slowly she opened her eyes. Glow flickered in her palm, soft and warm like the dawn's first light. Aaron watched as the darkness recoiled from that glow, the stones around them faintly illuminated in shifting patterns. Lyra raised her hand higher, and the light strengthened, pushing back the voices and the chill. The archway ahead became visible. At last, a path of glowing stones, inviting them forward. They stepped together onto the lit path. With each stride, Lyra's light grew steadier, bathing them both in gentle luminescence. The darkness fell away behind them, retreating to reveal the bridge's full length. Aaron marveled at her power, not fierce or blinding, but soft and unwavering. He realized that this light was born of hope and kindness, the same gifts that had drawn him to her in the first place. As they neared the far edge, Lyra's light merged with Aaron's calm resolve. The whispering voices faded to nothing, and the bridge beneath their feet felt solid and true. Lyra glanced at Aaron, eyes shining with relief and pride. He smiled back, his chest swelling with admiration. In that shared triumph, they discovered something deeper than victory over a trial. They had learned that together they could turn fear into strength. When they stepped out of the bridge of shadows, the sky opened into soft colors of dawn. The twin suns of Solara Prime peeked over distant peaks, bathing the world in gentle warmth. Full of quiet joy, they had faced the darkest trial and emerged stronger, bound by trust and love. Ahead lay the final ceremony, but in that moment, they simply stood together. Ready for whatever the future might hold? Asked ChatGPT. The grand chamber buzzed with anticipation as Aaron and Lyra stepped forward, their hands still gently clasped. The Council of Worlds filled the hall, their many voices hushed into respectful silence. Lanterns of pale moonstone cast a soft glow. Across the marble floor, illuminating the intricate patterns of ancient glyphs beneath their feet, Aaron felt his heart swell with pride, not for the trials he had faced, but for the truth they had revealed, that kindness and unity could light even the darkest path. Lyra walked beside him, her shoulders straight, her eyes shining with quiet confidence. At the center of the chamber, a raised dais held the unity Chalisa, crystal vessel said, to bind the hearts of all who drank from it. The eldest council, elder, clad in robes spun from starlight threads, spoke in a voice that echoed through the hall. He praised the champions and their partners, but when he reached Aaron and Lyra, his tone shifted to wonder. He recounted how they had passed each trial, calming the humming crystals, revealing true power in the Hall of Reflections, and banishing darkness on the Bridge of Shadows. Each step had tested body, mind, and spirit hand. They had emerged not only victorious, but changed. Aaron looked at Lyra and saw tears of joy gather in her eyes. He raised her hand to his lips, bowing deeply before the elder. The chamber broke into a soft chorus of applause, the sound like distant waves gently lapping at a shore. Lyra's breath caught as the elder lowered the unity chalice toward them. "Drink together," he intoned, "and let your bond be a light to guide the galaxy." Ron lifted the chalice, its crystal facets catching the lantern light, and offered it to Lyra. She accepted it with a gentle smile. They drank side by side. As the cool liquid touched their lips, a warm glow spread through their chests and radiated outward. Other champions and their partners watched, envious and inspired. As ribbons of iridescent light rose from Aaron and Lyra and wove together above their heads, the glyphs on the floor pulsed to life, shining in patterns of unity and renewal. That moment, the chamber seemed to expand, and each soul present felt a stirring of hope and connection. When the light faded, Aaron lowered the empty chalice and turned to Lyra. Her face was soft with wonder. He brushed a loose strand of hair from her cheek and whispered, "Together, always." Lyra's lips curved into a bright, grateful smile. She reached up to rest her hand on his shoulder, and Aaron felt the steady warmth of her skin against his uniform. In that simple touch lay a promise, one born not of duty, but of shared courage and trust. The elder raised his hand skyward and declared Aaron and Lyra as emissaries of unity. "May your example heal old wounds and build new bridges." The chamber erupted into celebration. Delegates approached to offer congratulations, some with tears, others with laughter. Aaron and Lyra moved through the crowd, accepting bows and gifts of flowers made of living light. Everywhere they went, whispers followed. They are the proof that fear can be conquered by compassion. And they show a new way forward for all worlds. Lyra felt warmth bloom in her chest at each whispered hope. At last, the celebrations drew to a close. As dusk fell over Solara Prime's twin suns, Aaron and Lyra stood atop a balcony overlooking the city's glass spires. The sky was painted in soft pinks and purples, and lanterns floated upward like fireflies. Lyra rested her head on Aaron's shoulder, breathing in the gentle breeze. "I used to believe I was alone," she murmured. "Lies in each other," Aaron wrapped his arm around her, pressing a light kiss to the top of her head. "And I will stand by you, always," he promised. Below them, the city's lights shimmered like stars brought down to earth. In that moment, Aaron and Lyra felt the weight of the galaxy's hopes resting lightly on their shoulders, and they knew they would not falter. The outcast princess had found a champion who saw her true power, and the champion had found a partner whose courage would guide him to be more than he ever dreamed. Together, they turned toward the future, ready to carry the light of their unity to every corner of the stars.